talking to Barry Habib, who's president of Mortgage Market Guide. And I've just set up the reason for this brief interview is that I just set up a new partners page on my website, mortgagescholars.com. And the purpose behind that is my way of trying to bring to loan officers 3 or 4 companies, and that's all that's going to be on here, companies that I feel can bring real value to loan officers, bottom line dollars. And that's the whole purpose of it. And these are companies that I believe in. I take, as I point out at the beginning on my website, I take no money from any of these companies. There's no money that changes hands. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we've only met once briefly, and you never even bought me lunch. So, I'm trying to keep a certain integrity in this process. So I just wanted to mention that. What particularly kind of triggered my interest in your product over the last couple of years, there's really a couple things. One is that constantly when I talk to branch and regional managers, and I do interview a lot of regionals too and have them as clients, they always seem to be bringing up your name and your product and how they push it on their loan officers because it can save them money and helps them increase business and satisfies their customer. That's one thing. And then what kind of was the trigger that really produced the call to you today was that I was interviewing Sue Woodard. I don't know if you know Sue.
Sure.
And she's a wonderful top-producing loan officer out of Minnesota. And she's with Hometown Mortgage. Anyway, it was a wonderful interview, and she just kept talking about how your product has really brought bottom line dollars to her. And I had another conversation with the president of the Turning Point, and because sort of the same thing comes up. So anyway, it's kind of consistent. This is why I wanted to do it. So I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about Mortgage Market Guide and the value it brings. And before to do that, and then I'm going to shut my mouth, I would like to tell people this is only a very short, brief introduction. And right at the end of it, there's going to be a graphic on the website right below where they link, and they can link directly into your site and see for themselves. So I'm going to shut up now.
Oh, John, it's always good to hear you talk, though, and thanks for this opportunity. I appreciate the kind words, people like Judy Margaret and Sue Woodard, and there have been so many other wonderful individuals that have been very, very kind to us and have taken the time to say some really neat things. We get about 5 or 6 emails every day, and I have to tell you, the Mortgage Market Guide is definitely the most rewarding thing I've ever done in business in my life. It's exceeded my wildest expectations on how it would catch on, and it really was an accident the way it happened. I have some experience. I've always been a follower of technical analysis and been very, very closely tied to the markets. I managed a $25 million hedge fund for a while, and really always have fallen in love with the markets. I had a stock trading newsletter, and because I've been so interested in the way technical analysis works, I've obviously tied it into my mortgage business, and forecasting interest rates has been something that we've been reasonably successful at. Now, when I would see a change in trend in interest rates, I've been blessed to have made many friends throughout the country, wonderful people that I've met from speaking engagements and hooking up and playing golf with them, or meet them at a Dunkin' event and wind up developing these wonderful friendships. And I would send them all out an email saying, hey, here's what I see. I think there's a change in the market here. I think that we may want to look at locking in here. Here's why. I'd send them a chart. If we're heading the other way, I'd say, don't lock anything here, folks, because I think that we're going to be seeing some good times over the next couple of days ahead in the market, and here's why. And what started out as going out to about 15 or 20 friends, then spread to their friends, and then I kept on getting emails, Barry, could you put me on your distribution list? And I use Outlook Express, and that only can handle 100 emails at a time. So when I was on my third batch of emails, it was over 200 people I was sending it to. I said, maybe there's something here that we can put together. And I hooked up with a wonderful fellow by the name of Kurt Warner, who was my partner in the Mortgage Market Guide. And Kurt was talking to me about how we can combine what I was doing with a voice broadcast to get immediate impact out. And pretty much the rest is history, because we took the ball and ran with it from there. And what the Mortgage Market Guide was designed to do initially was help originators be able to make informative decisions on when the market's changing and when they should take advantage and locking in, or when they should hold off. It's very frustrating when you have an intraday lender reprice because it kind of blindsides many people. And when that happens, the effects are very bad. You either have to go back to your customer, and then after you've told them what the rate was going to be, renegotiate something else. You have to take a hit to your branch or your own pocketbook if you don't do that. And then the worst case scenario is that people just kind of sit back and play the market and hope it comes back. And we know that when the market really gets nasty, there's an old saying, it says fear doesn't leave on a donkey, which means that when the market changes, when people are selling, they do so quickly and in droves. So the market can get nasty sometimes, and you can really get burnt if you try and play the market without any kind of guidance. Now, because the mortgage market is based on the trading of mortgage-backed securities, what we do is we give you access to that in real time on the website. Now, there's other services that you can get like Quicken.com and Bloomberg and Reuters, but they charge between $500, $600 to even $1,700 monthly for that. And we really charge literally a fraction of that. The current price for the Mortgage Market Guide is the equivalent of around $50 a month for this type of access to the bond quotes. But in addition to that, you get so much more. You get the alerts via a cell phone call to you that's instantaneous, telling you not only what the action should be, but why it's happening and whether you should lock or float. Now, again, we talked about those lender intraday reprices. What really can get you upset is if you just lock somebody and you get a lender intraday reprice saying prices have just gotten better, but meanwhile you just locked a couple of loans in. And down the line, if you lock in kind of at the lesser opportune times in the marketplace, not only is it a bit aggravating because you could have made more money or could have saved your customer more money, but you have those rate lock renegotiations that wind up coming up, which can be challenging and frustrating, and it certainly isn't the highest and best use of your time. And more often than not, they tend to be phone calls that aren't the greatest phone calls with your customers. So we try and help you avoid all that. And while I'll tell you up front, we're not going to be 100%. Statistically, we've been pretty darn close to 90% accurate on our calls. And it's not just the saving of the money. It's being your client's trusted financial advisor. We've seen a big influx of individuals come into the mortgage marketplace over the past few years. And that's been okay because the pie's been real big. But as that pie shrinks, we're going to need to differentiate ourselves, cause a little separation between us and our competitors. How do we do that? By understanding what the market's like, being able to explain what's going to affect interest rates. It's not an uncommon question. Heck, you could be in the business one day, people are going to ask you, which way are interest rates going? And how you answer that question is part of what I think is very, very critical, is that first 15 minutes or 10 minutes when you're on the phone with the customer. I think the customer makes the decision of whom they're going to use to handle their mortgage, the largest financial transaction they're going to make in their lives, within the first 10 or 15 minutes of speaking to someone. So here are ways that we can impress upon that customer that they're in good hands. We can handle this transaction in a professional manner, and we can manage their account for them. We can manage their funds for them. We can be entrusted with this large financial decision so that they don't have to shop elsewhere. It's not most important who's got the lowest rate today. It's during the course of this transaction, what advice are they going to get that over the next 60 days is going to tell them the most opportune times to lock in? So it's a very, very important function. And what we do, too, is we keep you with your hand on the pulse of the marketplace. Every day you get an email update, at least one, that's less than a 1-minute read. And, John, I know people are busy and they don't want to be inundated with reading material. But, heck, for a minute you could stop what you're doing and be able to quickly digest what's been broken down into here's what's happening. You don't have to go to 15 websites, listen to news stations all over the country. All you got to do is just read this, and within 60 seconds you are fully armed with what's happening in the mortgage marketplace, in the business environment, what highlights are out there, so that you constantly know more than your client. You constantly know more than your referral source. And you should be the one that's positioned as the source, the expert. You don't be learning necessarily about your business from your customer or your referral source. You want to be the one who's on top, that they're going to you for, hey, what's going on? What's causing the market to happen? And it's constantly at your fingertips. In addition to that, we try and make it easy for you. So if you're out of the office, you get updates to your cell phone with what's happening, where hourly bond quotes come to your cell phone. And we don't just give you the bond quotes. We also, on the website and on your cell phone, give you the change from 10 a.m. Eastern, which is typically when most lenders come out with pricing. So you always know what's not involved in the rate sheet. In other words, if the prices change from when that rate sheet comes out, it'll give you a gauge as to what rates should look like tomorrow. And you can adjust the way you handle your business accordingly. Now, the other thing, too, John, is that we do provide a weekly in-depth newsletter that talks a lot about stocks, the economy, news events, gives you an economic calendar with forecasts so that over the weekend you'll have time to digest that and read through it. But again, during the week, we have very, very brief hits so that as you go, you can constantly be on top of the market. That's pretty much what we do.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, I think if anyone, if there's one interview where it's really very well put, they ought to listen to Sue Woodard, and she really explains in some depth how much money that it saved her. And the fact, I mean, the thing that I've always liked about this product is the fact, and I'm not even in the business, but the fact is that, I mean, for the amount of money, like $50, I mean, that's pre-tax, that's like chump change. All you have to do is get 1/3 of one extra deal, and the thing pays for itself. The thing that's always amazed me about your product are really two things. One's the fact that even though you cannot promise that you're going to be right all the time, and sometimes you're going to be wrong, the fact is that you're not just, and this is John Ondrich's opinion and people I've talked to, it's the fact that you're not just right most of the time, but you're just consistently right over a period of time where it becomes a very reliable vehicle. And the second thing I like about it is the fact that the cost is absurdly low. I mean, if I own this thing, I'd be jacking the price up, but that's just me. I just think that the value...
I have to tell you, this is one of the most flattering emails we get. There's not a week that goes by that a few of our subscribers tell us that we do not charge enough for the service. And it's not that we want to go ahead and charge very, very high prices, but we want to make it affordable for everybody.
Well, that's right.
And the system that we use, again, the system's not going to be right 100% of the time, but if you have a system, if you have a game plan, you'll never get hurt. At times we tend to be a little bit conservative so that we preserve gains. We'd rather see you preserving gains along the way than trying to hit home runs. But the system that we use is very, very accurate. It's used by some of the top professional money managers in the industry. And it's available for folks in our industry where it wasn't available before. I mean, I listen to people talk in our industry now, and finally people are getting it. Hey, mortgages are not based on 10-year Treasury notes. Mortgages are based on mortgage-backed securities. And it's interesting to hear people now being able to quote some of the things that we explain to them and talk about the different candlestick patterns. And it's great to see that we're literally, in my opinion, changing the face of the mortgage industry.
You are, and you're right. In the old days, I mean, I'm a lot older than you are. I'm 59, but in the old days when I first got in this business, before you were maybe even born, the way you found out about a price is you literally had to dial a Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae or somebody or HUD's hotline. And you had to get on the phone and put a dime in. And I mean, that's how you got it. That was the only way to get information. And even then, it was, not very good. So this is such a quantum leap, and it's so new and it's so good. And I encourage loan officers, to get it individually. I heard kind of a semi-horror story a couple of weeks ago that I just kind of pulled out of my head. I remembered that where one of the regionals was telling me that one of his loan officers was using it and was sharing it with 3 or 4 other people, and it just didn't work out because, the third guy on the chain was just getting the stuff too late. So this is the kind of product that every loan officer ought to have individually.
Well, after your tax benefit, it's less than $30.
Yeah, right. Well, right.
It's a nuisance. I mean, in our business, the amount of money that we're capable of making, $30 a month, it's
nothing.
I mean, it's a lunch for 2 these days.
Yeah, right. Not even that.
And
can't even go to the Carnegie Deli for that.
There you go. And the information that you get is just it's very, very it's very timely. It's instantaneous that you get it, so you constantly know what's going on. And John, the other thing too is that I have tapes and training products that I've done and I've had. And the nice thing about the Mortgage Market Guide is you don't have to do anything. It just comes to you. You don't have to open up the tape, put it in, spend an hour sitting and listening. You don't have to do any of that stuff. All you do is just sit back, and if there's a change in the market, you get a phone call.
Yeah, right.
Right in the middle of the day, you get an email. Read the email for 60 seconds. You're all over the market. You want to see what's going on in the market? Go to the website. Tell your customer, here's what's happening. You don't have to do anything because it all comes to you. It's a very, very different way of learning. It's just, here's what's happening. We bring it to you. You don't have to remember to dial a number. You don't have to remember to do anything.
Right.
Just sit back and we take care of you.
Yeah. Well, why don't we end it on that? I think that's a good high point. And this is real easy. After you finish listening to this, just hit on the graphic link, and it'll take you to Barry's site, and you can take a look for yourself.
Which is www.mortgagemarketguide.com.
Right. Anyway, thanks so much, Barry. Nice talking to you.
Thanks.